And good evening, everybody. It's 7 o'clock. Thanks for inviting us in. We want to bring you live coverage of the governor's State of the State address. Let's take you inside the Indiana State House. The General Assembly is ready. We've got the introduction from the Lieutenant Governor.
The House and the Senate, distinguished guests, I have the high honor of introducing our governor, Eric Holcomb.
And there is the governor greeting state lawmakers tonight. I want to remind you that you can watch Wheel of Fortune tonight on MeTV. The State of the State expected to run until 7:30 tonight. We are expecting the governor to talk about Indiana's battle against COVID-19, but a large part of his address this evening is expected to focus on the economy. His 2022 next level agenda is what he's calling it. Governor Holcomb has said his focus is strengthening Indiana's economy, which includes several different areas. He calls them 5 different pillars. Includes workforce training expansion, improving early childhood education efforts, advancing infrastructure projects, and increasing access to public health services. So the governor coming inside tonight, the Indiana State House, on what is a cold Tuesday night across central Indiana, and Hoosiers who are tuning in both here on Channel 13 and online, eager to see what the governor has to say about COVID-19, the healthcare heroes that have been taking care of all the people who have been sick, and also what Indiana's economy is looking forward to in this new year. So Governor Holcomb passing out copies of his speech, and let's go ahead and listen in.
All right. Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, Madam Chief Justice, Lieutenant Governor, members of the General Assembly, my fellow Hoosiers, it is indeed an honor to once again discuss the state of our great state and the work before us as we all seek to make life better for all Hoosiers. Winston Churchill once said, "A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty." Ladies and gentlemen, you can color me an optimist, because there has never been a more opportune time to realize our true potential than right now. Even as we're contending with the challenges of a global pandemic, we're simultaneously strengthening our economy, reskilling our workforce, building up and out our infrastructure, enhancing our quality of life. And now, because we're ready and able, we're revitalizing and connecting our communities all across the state like never before. Tonight, I'll report on what we're doing for our economy, our people, and our communities. When it comes to our strong economy, we've earned it. Sound fiscal management, over time, has become our state's reputation. We've produced 9 straight, honestly balanced budgets since 2005. And from June of 2017 to June of 2021, we've reduced our debt by 24%. Thank you, Senator Mishler and Doc Brown. Our discipline has led to record revenue and reserves, and we remain one of 13 states that has received a AAA credit rating from all 3 primary rating agencies. We closed the 2021 fiscal year with $3.9 billion in reserves. So we put an extra $1.1 billion toward our obligation to our teachers' pension fund, and we're sending back $545 million to Hoosier taxpayers in the form of an automatic taxpayer refund. Our rigorous oversight of taxpayer money has solidified Indiana's distinction as a place of investment, certainty, and stability, predictability, and continuity that our families and our businesses, they love it, and even our neighbors envy it. Among every state we border, Indiana now ranks number one in GDP growth from 2015 to 2020. In fact, our GDP has grown from $353 billion in 2017 to now $415 billion at a rate outpacing Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, and Kentucky. We rank number one among those in personal income growth as well from 2015 to 2020. And our unemployment rate, 3%, is our lowest in 21 years and lower than every state we touch. Today, more than 73,000 more Hoosiers are working compared to just before the pandemic hit. 73,000 more. In another measure of our growth and vitality, more people are choosing to live in Indiana. Since 2010, our population has increased by 300,000 people, far eclipsing the rate of any neighboring state. In fact, the U.S. Census just put out that from July of 2020 to July of 2021, Indiana saw more people move to our state than any of the 11 other states that make up the entire Midwest region. We increased our population by 20,000 people. At the same time, Ohio lost 10,000, Michigan lost 16,000, and Illinois lost 113,000. U-Haul just released its annual report showing Indiana ranked 6th highest in the nation for inbound migration. Ladies and And it's not just individuals who are choosing Indiana. Businesses are too. Our last 4 years have been record-breaking years of investment and job commitments. Last year, the Indiana Economic Development Corporation set all-time records in 3 key categories. $8.7 billion in new capital investment, over $1.8 billion in new payroll, and 31,700 new job commitments with average wages over $28 an hour. We saw 29 headquarters plant their flag in Indiana, both homegrown startups and out-of-state relocations. Our monthly single-family home building permits are more than every state we touch, and our state housing is hot all across Indiana. Ladies and gentlemen, the state of our economy is Indiana strong. Strong like Indiana steel. We're number one in the country for steel production, part of our rich heritage. And we're also becoming a magnet for the industries of the future, such as hypersonics and microelectronics, cyber, solar, drones, quantum computing, advanced manufacturing, plant genetics, battery technology. I could go on and on, so I will. For example, we're putting new energy in new energy. More and more solar projects are cropping up all across our state. After I visited Tel Aviv last year, Doral Renewables announced that they were building the largest solar farm in the United States on 13,000 acres in Stark and Pulaski counties. Eventually, it will generate enough electricity to power hundreds of thousands of homes, all by cultivating the sun. Thank you, Nick, for your confidence and incredible investment in the state of Indiana and our people. Thank you. These industries make Indiana the shiny new buckle on what used to be referred to as the old Rust Belt. And to keep this momentum going, we need to revise the Indiana Economic Development Corporation's toolkit to invest in once-in-a-lifetime transformational opportunities, provide greater flexibility within our existing tax credit incentive program, recruit more remote worker jobs. And as the #1 manufacturing state in America per capita, we must eliminate the 30% business personal property tax floor on new equipment to instantly ensure Indiana is even more competitive with surrounding states, encouraging even more further investment, positioning us to become even a more dominant player in the advanced manufacturing age. So herein lies our most pressing challenge, I think. With more than 150,000 current job openings posted and a record number of new jobs coming, we need to ensure all Hoosier students and workers can and ultimately will fill them. That starts in the classroom, which is why, with your support, the budget passed last session, we made historic investments in education. We're investing a record $1.9 billion in new dollars for K through 12. That's over the biennium, and we're increasing the K through 12 tuition support formula by 9%, which is more than $1 billion. That investment is already paying big dividends. More than 85% of school corporations have raised teacher base salaries by an average of nearly $1,800 in the 2020-2021 school year, and 99% are expected to raise salaries in the current school year. That goal for new teacher salaries, our state's goal of $40,000 by July 1, some 80% of our schools will have achieved it. Think about that, with this budget, what it's doing in every one of your regions, in your districts, in our towns. Their partners at the Department of Education are laser focused on providing more pathways and opportunities for lifelong student success, be it enlistment, employment, or enrollment. Those efforts start early in life. So we must strengthen both the quality and the access to early learning opportunities all across Indiana from birth to age 5 to better prepare students for kindergarten and then everything beyond that. Moreover, we know our children have suffered academically because of the pandemic. So in response, last year, the DOE launched several accelerated learning programs, totaling nearly $160 million extra dollars, with a second round underway right now. We'll be rolling out the Graduates Prepared to Succeed dashboard, so for the first time, parents, community leaders, and school corporations themselves can have easy public access to robust data regarding their school performance. And let's make progress on strengthening our teacher pipeline while we're at it, and attracting and retaining more educators, focusing on diversity and teachers in high-need areas like special education and STEM. To do that, we'll launch a statewide teacher marketplace that connects them with school openings in real time. While education is the starting point, we must do more to align our state's K through 12, higher ed, workforce, and economic development efforts. There is power in their synergy. That's why we launched a one-stop shop website that proactively connects unemployed and underemployed Hoosiers with customized, personalized job and training opportunities. 240 employers and 16,000 individuals have already created profiles. And our Workforce Ready and our employer training grant programs continue to move more Hoosiers into higher paying jobs and increase the number of people achieving a post-secondary education. Since 2017, more than 52,000 Hoosiers have enrolled in our Workforce Ready program. And those who earned a credit saw an average wage gain of $6,800 a year. And through our employer training grant program, 3,700 employers have trained more than 41,000 Hoosiers. And they achieved an average pay raise of over $4,000 a year. All these programs give Indiana a leg up in growing our businesses and bringing in new ones. A great example is Small Business Entrepreneur of the Year, Dante Wilburn, who owns Premier Auto Detailing and Wash in Lafayette. As a troubled youth, Dante served a 3-year sentence in community corrections. But a work release program enabled him to work at an auto detailing company and finish a degree at Purdue. He had big ambitions. So he started his own detailing company with a goal, not just to make money, but to also give employees, his employees, opportunities for careers and advancement. Today he owns several businesses. He employs 40 individuals. And Dante says, state agencies have been the backbone of my growth, and there is no way I could have done it without them. We want more Dante Wilburns and more Hoosiers to have greater opportunities to succeed. Dante, thank you for making a difference, and thank you for joining us tonight. I told you I'd see you again. Now, as we strengthen Hoosier talent, we must also strengthen Hoosier health. While we've made progress, for sure, in areas like reducing infant mortality, we still have a lot of work to do to truly be clicking on all cylinders. Here are the facts. Indiana ranks 46th in obesity, 46th in smoking, 40th in childhood immunizations, each of which can lead to life-threatening and costly complications down the road. Like everywhere else in America, our efforts to tackle addiction in our communities have been compounded by the pandemic, and we've seen increased fentanyl use as an example. So we must double down to reach more people with substance use disorder and get them into recovery and back to their families and back to work and back to school. Lieutenant Governor Crouch has made it a personal mission to promote a comprehensive strategy to support Hoosier mental health, which has never been more important. Our strategy includes making investments to grow our mental health workforce with more recruitment, retention, and quality efforts, by expanding access to mental health services, rolling out the new federal 988 suicide hotline, and investing more to reduce the stigma of mental health challenges. And we will also promote young Hoosier health and wellness by strengthening the guidelines for childhood-led screening and gathering more knowledge about the causes of sudden infant deaths so we can continue reducing infant mortality and saving these precious lives. The task of improving Hoosier health couldn't, again, be more important, and the time to do it never more pressing. To realize new results, addressing these challenges will require new approaches. That's why the Indiana Public Health Commission will submit a report this summer with recommendations ready for the 2023 budget session so we can modernize and strengthen our state's public health system overall, one person at a time. Even as we put massive renewed efforts into public health, we're maintaining our aggressive pace to build a 21st century infrastructure network that links Hoosiers to each other, the nation, and the world of opportunities before us. We're in the midst of deploying $60 billion over 20 years to expand and enhance the roads and bridges that connect our communities, paid for with cash, not debt financed. We're investing $3.6 billion just this year in road projects throughout our entire state. And we're near completion, 3 years ahead of schedule, on I-69, which will create it's a long time coming, and it's going to create one continuous route from Canada straight through Indiana all the way to our nation's southern border. It's a very important trading corridor for us. Add to that, through our community crossings program, cities, towns, counties, they've resurfaced or reconstructed more than 20,000 lane miles of road and repaired or replaced 119 bridges just in the last 4 years. We're also working with our federal and local partners to fast-track two of the nation's most transformational commuter rail projects. When the South Shore double track and the Westlake corridor are completed, they won't just reduce travel times, they will, but they'll fuel an explosion of new investment and opportunity in Northwest Indiana, the likes we haven't seen in decades. We'll continue working toward the construction of a number of new capital projects throughout our state, including $420 million committed to wastewater, drinking water, and stormwater infrastructure improvements, and $780 million for a new state archives building, a new Westville correctional facility, new blind and deaf schools, and a new inn at Potato Creek State Park. This will be the first new inn since 1939 in our state. We're also in the middle of the largest expansion of walking, hiking, and biking trails in our state history, investing up to $150 million, helping Hoosiers and our guests see and feel, be part of our natural beauty, linking 112 miles of new, happy trails to our neighborhoods. 94% of Hoosiers now live within 5 miles of trail access. And you'll find more shade on those trails because our commitment to planting 1 million new trees, well, we're ahead of schedule on that front too. We've already planted 400,000 trees so far, and another 200,000 will be planted this spring. And to fortify our information highways, we've made the largest investment in broadband in our state's history. Since the Next Level Connections program was announced in 2018, we've allocated $350 million to provide everyone, wherever they live in Indiana, with access to affordable, quality broadband and the limitless opportunity it affords. This most recent round saw more than $600 million in requests from nearly every county in our state. It's no surprise that Forbes calls us, Indiana, a national model. I hear about the difference, I'm sure you do too, that this is making in people's lives every day. Like when Amy and Scott House from Newcastle decided to run their business from their home so they could care for their family. They considered moving. But because of a Next Level Connections grant, their home was covered, along with 69 other homes and 10 businesses with 1 gigabyte service. Thanks to Scott and his mother, Patty, for connecting with us here tonight. And thanks for staying in Indiana. And now we're taking one giant leap toward creating one Indiana. We're a state with incredible urban, rural, and suburban areas, and yet many of our rural areas have struggled to maintain their population. That's why last year I proposed dedicating $500 million to help our communities throughout the entire state accelerate their economic growth, improve quality of life for their residents, and become magnets for talent. To all of you in this room, I salute you for going big and bold. This READY program is the largest investment in Hoosier history, aimed at transforming every region of our state, representing all 92 of our counties. Every region received a portion of that $500 million. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Local leaders identified nearly 800 projects and $1.5 billion in demand, with $15 billion of their own matching funds. That's why we need to come back in 2023 and go big again. And to further help our communities prosper, we'll continue to partner on public safety efforts and deliver good government service that Hoosiers have come to expect and, quite frankly, deserve. That includes supporting and appropriately funding our law enforcement officers. We'll do that in many ways, but including $70 million in our state law enforcement academy and continuing to implement best practices. To Indiana's law enforcement community, I say, we say, thank you, and we have your back. Two more thank yous before I close. This September, Camp Atterbury was transformed from a military training site into a temporary home for some of the men and women and children who fled Afghanistan. We took in 7,500 evacuees, more than 40% of them children, provided medical care, traditional Afghan meals, lessons in English, and what to expect in their new country. We saw an outpouring of donations and volunteers on a scale like no other state experienced. Now most are starting their new lives somewhere in America. with about 500 calling Indiana their new home. I commend everyone, from a small task to a large commitment, everyone for the contributing to this tremendous uplifting effort. To me, it's a great example of what Hoosiers are all about and what we're capable of accomplishing when we work together. Finally, I couldn't give a state address without giving an update on COVID and the extraordinary personal toll it's had on our families. To date, more than 19,000 Hoosier lives have been lost, more than live in Huntington, Crawfordsville, or Jasper. Hospitals are diverting patients in search of available beds. The number of ICU beds in use is almost at an all-time high, and it's difficult to find one around the state. I want to thank over 3.5 million Hoosiers who are vaccinated and getting boosted. You are a big reason our hospital network hasn't collapsed. We know that people getting vaccinated and boosted overwhelmingly stay out of the hospital, stay out of the ICU, and they don't die. If you haven't been vaccinated, I encourage, I plead, I beg of you to speak to your doctor and do so. I say this even if you've disagreed with every position I've taken, because I want us both to be around to continue to have those disagreements. A special, very special thank you to all those who continue to put others above themselves, to continue the battle against COVID. Our hospitals have been under siege. Our healthcare providers are exhausted physically and mentally, as are those taking care of our nursing home residents and students in our schools and our own state health department, quarterbacking it all, and everyone supporting them. You all have been operating in overdrive for 2 straight years. No words, salary, or earthly awards will ever be enough to repay you for the lives that you've cared for and saved. The ultimate judge will be kind to you for living your love for your neighbor. History has shown us this is an example, and history has shown us time and time again that it is when we're facing the toughest challenges that we can be our best. Despite our challenges, this is a time of unprecedented growth, connections, momentum, and opportunity for all Hoosiers. This is our time, Indiana, not just for today, but for decades to come. And that, my friends, is exactly what we're doing. Thank you, and God bless our great state, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.